and we'll pretty much go from there. So, okay. If any questions, you can just post it in the stage chat. I guess we'll just, take a look at that towards the end. Okay, so here we go. Quick team intro for those of you that are new here. My name is Yoon. I'm the founder. My background is like the Silicon Valley dropout background. Left university in 1920 and moved to Silicon Valley. Was like trying to dabble in the startup world. From there, I picked up trading, and because I'm fairly, I think quantitatively and mathematically, I was able to build up my capital running algos and trading in TradFi. So I still to this day have, stock trading algos running during my day to day, right? That's how I actually my like primary stream of income during the day. And so built up my capital before I even moved into crypto, transitioned to crypto during 2020. Because of my engineering background, I got into Solidity and blockchain development relatively quickly, was building and had been building smart contracts ever since the last cycle. Transitioned to AI during 2023. When ChatGPT came out, I thought, okay, so this is like the next kind of frontier of technology, right? And I was actually dabbling with the technology of generative AI, specifically creating hyper realistic people for 6 to 9 months before even starting Lush. And then because crypto picked up during October, September, August of last year, I kind of had to put that on pause and kind of reallocate to crypto. But I was in the InnoQ community and been talking to the founders, and they gave me the idea of building a crypto project around my generative AI models, and hence Lush Chat or Lush was born. And so we've grown since the last the token was launched January like 22nd, I believe, and we just grown organically since then from about a million to 30 million market cap right now. And so during the process of the last couple of weeks, now we're transitioning to like a progress review, right? So the main thing I've been working on personally is on the recruiting front, getting the guys who I feel would be a value add to a project and the team on board. For those of you that missed it, our CFO guy gave like an intro video, or sorry, like an audio recording that's in our both Discord and Telegram. He's currently at ETH Denver, just flying around networking, so he couldn't make this AMA. But essentially, we have a guy like that on board on the investor relations side as well as the marketing side. I think he basically grew his own capital from about like 50K to 100 million plus at this point. So he's pretty well connected on the institutional front. And when we do plan for subsequent fundraisers, he's pretty well connected there. So we brought him on board a few weeks ago. We also brought on board our lead dev, Mike. He gave an intro in our Discord and Telegram about 1 or 2 weeks ago. He's basically like a full stack engineer for like 10 years now, blockchain industry specific for 5. I met him during the last cycle in 2020 where we were, coding up some smart contracts and projects ourselves. He's basically taking over and basically allowed me to kind of offload some of the engineering manpower off myself to him. And then he also has one guy working under him. So our engineering team is like about two to three people right now. Not counting the external kind of like part-time like freelancers and like whatnot that I already have working for us. So he's been working on a revamp on the UI standpoint of Lush Chat, as well as continuing to work on the functionality. Let me post. Let me see if I can find the. Okay, so I posted. He posted this as well. It's basically like a screenshot of the UI upgrades for Lush Chat. So we're still on schedule for launch in end of Q1. So last couple of days, I've been onboarding 1 or 2 AI engineers, and so they've been working in the background as well. And so I basically offloaded some of that, delegated some of that responsibility for generating the AI, which I was doing myself, to a couple of these guys, right? So I think at this point, from a recruiting standpoint, we're firing on multiple cylinders. There's maybe 1 or 2 guys that I plan to bring on board as well. Specifically speaking, on the OnlyFans industry, we also have like a couple of well-established OnlyFans agencies in our groups already, and we've been talking to them in the background, just discussing how to integrate our technology as soon as possible into their current workflow. And so that pretty much sums up the recruiting. The product I also discussed as well, specifically the next big kind of update will be integrating the chatting functionality and plugging it into NQAI's LLM with a backend API. But you guys won't see that on the front end because we'll just be continuing to test that with the NQAI guys on the back end. But that's, in the works in the next 1 or 2 weeks or so. And then after that is integrating blockchain payments and, writing the smart contracts. We plan to deploy smart contract on both Ethereum and Solana. And then so that takes us to, March maybe 17th, 20th. And then, last week or so will be before the launch will be, let's see, finalizing the UI and, making sure the pay-per-view menu and, the tipping and the gifting functionality is all set up. And so that leads us to the end of Q1, right? So that's on the product side. The marketing, so let's cover the marketing component, right? Because some of you have also been asking about that. Our current strategy up to this point has been high target, low volume. What I mean by that is we are, personally trying to reach out, whether it be through our own personal networks or via, indirect network with through one of the guys in our community. We're targeting the kind of sophisticated we've been targeting the sophisticated investors up to this point. The guys that, are like fairly established themselves. They normally in like VC deals, they probably like get in seed and put in like 100, 200K, those type of guys, right? I think getting those guys on board, it's definitely the right move to make in the beginning because you want guys that are able to quote unquote, diamond hand and actually believe in the vision, right? I think as we ramp up towards the launch of Lush Chat, we're going to shift focus into more, I would say like higher volume type of like traditional type of marketing where we reach out to KOLs and try to engage their groups, right? So that's kind of a shift in the marketing strategy that will take place within the next couple of weeks. Let me take a look at the chart real quick. Okay. Yeah. So far, so good. Okay. One question that's gone up a couple times, I guess, is regarding like the tax. I guess I can explain it in further why it actually makes sense. It's actually better to implement this tax system versus going the traditional VC route, which, like I mentioned in a previous AMA, I'm like very quite aware of, familiar with because all my friends are like VCs. So in a typical VC, funded protocol, what happens is, you have this initial seed round, and, maybe at like 20, 30 million valuation. Keep in mind the key differentiation here is that in the VC game, these market caps and these valuations are purely on paper, right? So it's actually like, it's actually just a figure that someone can come up with, right? So let's say they start like a seed round at 20, 30 million valuation, go through the traditional funding round a couple times, the valuation goes up to 50, 100 million. They finally TGE the token on the public markets at 100 million plus or some kind of number like that. And so that's completely the counter approach that we took from the very beginning, which is we wanted to basically implement a tax in order to fundraise the protocol instead of acquiring additional outside venture capital. Because one, that allows us to move significantly faster, right? Like, I think the beauty of crypto and one of the biggest use cases is just capital allocation, right? Like the fact that anyone can launch a protocol and a token on chain, build like a tax mechanism to, provide fundraising for a protocol. Imagine that to the, very kind of like elongated process of like negotiating terms with venture capital, setting up like some kind of like legal contracts and whatever. It's just more efficient and faster. And so from a speed of execution perspective, which is very important in crypto, building a purely on-chain organic fair launch token made much more sense to us. And so by implementing a 5%, buy sales tax, that allows any participant, whether it be, a retail guy with $200 versus, a more sophisticated investor with like that's willing to chip in 50, 100K. The point is, it's a fair market, it's an open market, anyone can come and buy the token, right? And so you're not, as a retail participant, you're able to get in on I would consider like an institutional grade project from the very beginning, without having to wait until these VCs artificially pump up the valuation to 100 million, and then dump on you, and then have their vesting schedule completely dilute the current price, right? And so we're not afraid to have our token trade on the open market and have the free market, dictate our valuations and whatnot. And I think, the question is, is the five, would you rather pay a 5% tax and get in a 5, 10, 30 million valuation, or buy a artificially hyped and pumped VC token at 100 million plus, right? And so I think if you come from the perspective, if you come from that kind of perspective, I think implementing a tax token is definitely a better deal for, all participants, all market participants, I would say. And so that covers that. Okay, so another kind of key question or like point that has been brought up a lot is kind of like, what is the differentiation factor between, our project and X, enter X project that are also building something similar, right? And so this is actually a very important distinction that I want to make, and I've made in a previous AMA as well. But I think for us, the key important part is OnlyFans. When we say OnlyFans, OnlyFans is not our product per se. Like the platform itself, whether it be OnlyFans in this case, is simply a means to an end. The actual product in this type of business is the girl itself and the ability for the girl to generate content. That is the actual product, right? So we, for example, are both chain agnostic and platform agnostic. For example, we're not trying to build like the OnlyFans of Polygon X, OnlyFans of Solana, etc. Like we don't really care what chain we deploy our smart contracts on. In fact, the more smart contracts we deploy on various chains, the better it is, because we can tap into the various communities of the kind of tribalistic enter tribalistic chain, right? So Solana, Ethereum will be our first two chains that we deploy smart contracts on, but we have no problem deploying smart contracts on various other EVM compatible chains, BSC Polygon, like those are the old guys, whatever enter, fast TPS, low transaction cost chain. We have no problem doing that. Also, we're also platform agnostic, right? Like for us, OnlyFans is simply an analogy for direct monetization of sexuality. Sexuality and the girl itself and her ability to create content is the actual product. What that means is we have no problem actually monetizing our girl on OnlyFans itself, or perhaps Twitter built the functionalities of OnlyFans, which they actually are, right? The functionalities being themselves are actually quite simple, which is pay-per-view content and subscription-based services, right? So the platform itself is irrelevant. We'd be happy to even, like I said, deploy our models on OnlyFans. The reason we don't do that is because OnlyFans obviously is one against only AI models, and so the biggest problem there is like identity verification, banking, etc. Right? But if OnlyFans built out those functionalities, we would have no problem, right? The reason why we built out Lush Chat, our own kind of internal OnlyFans platform, is because it suits the needs of an AI, like vertically integrated AI agency, when it comes to being able to directly integrate our LLM that we plan to work with InnoQ on, and also the AI powered content generation, right? And so like eventually, like I said, if Twitter built out the functionalities, well, yeah, we'll monetize our models directly on Twitter. We'll monetize our models directly on Instagram, etc. Right? And so that is like a key distinction I want to make. Like OnlyFans, I think maybe there are other platforms building like a chat bot service or OnlyFans platform, but in their case, I think the mistake is thinking OnlyFans, the platform itself, is the product. The product itself has no value without the content creators itself, right? The guys follow the girl, not the actual platform, right? And so that's a key distinction there. On another note, I think as I was mentioning earlier, how like OnlyFans to us is simply an analogy for direct monetization of digitalized content. I think once you realize how much bigger the market for indirect sexuality is, then you can actually start kind of appreciating the true market opportunity, right? This is why for example, our white paper starts with our like a very foundation, right? Our evolutionary roots, and goes up the pyramid from there, right? Once you understand, the underlying forces of biology, you will see that, seemingly unrelated modern day phenomenon are all behavioral manifestations of like the same evolutionary drive, specifically like survival and reproduction. Reproduction in this case, sexuality, right? So an example I would use is like um like the game streamer on Twitch, right? The girl who's wearing very like provocative clothing and like streaming like a whatever game they're playing, Fortnite or whatever, right? Like it's like, do you really think the guys are tuning in to watch her play Fortnite or because of her superior gaming skills? No, it's because if her like she's basically selling herself like indirectly, right? Like Twitch nowadays is basically like a Twitch nowadays is basically like softcore pornography at this point. And so like how that relates to us is that yes, the product itself is our ability to create hyper realistic AI girls, right? A use case, the first use case is OnlyFans. The subsequent use case in the future can very well be a live streaming gamer influencer, right? Like we're not limited to selling content directly. Even very kind of like seemingly trivial things, right? Let's say like do you really think going on in the same context of like how everything has like underpinning like sexuality like uh, pinning to it, like do you really think a girl walks in the gym, like girls go to the gym wearing super tight yoga pants with like designs are specifically designed to accentuate like their ass, like do you really think that they're doing this for comfort purposes? No, it's because they're trying to show off their body, right? Like in the gym. How that relates to Lush specifically is like that is the advertising market and advertising industry as a whole, right? Monetizing sexuality. In the case of the specific yoga pants, perhaps now you have this, girl on Instagram who like gets like an endorsement deal from Lululemon or whatever the yoga pants company is. But I mean, five like maybe 1, 2, 5, 3, 5 years down the line, the AI influencer will take the role of that girl, right, in promoting those yoga pants. And so, the advertising market, the yoga pants is just an example of the advertising market. The gamer example that I just described below previously is an example of live streaming influencers, right? Those are just different various use cases and mediums to sell and monetize the product, which is the AI girl, right? And so I hope that makes clear the distinguishment between what we're building versus other kind of X project that is building like an OnlyFans powered by Web3, right? Hope that answers the question. Um, let me, I guess I'm just gonna go through a couple questions, I guess, at this point. Is this my real voice? Yes, this is me talking. I'm not AI. Moonbird still a thing. Is vulva an adjustable trait? Yes, I mean you can, like I said, in our most recent Twitter tweet, like you can fine tune each body part. Specifically, obviously, where the most important is the face. But if you're talking about like breasts and like other kind of private parts, yes, you can literally fine tune each body part to create a person out of existence. Um, when Inception program. I strongly recommend accelerating your project through the NVIDIA Inception program. Okay, so like here's the thing, right? So I see a couple of projects like other kind of AI related projects announced on Twitter. They've been accepted in this like NVIDIA Inception program. I'm not really sure what that is, but like from our standpoint, I think like every step or every kind of um, decision has to have like intention and directionality behind it. Like when I see what a program like NVIDIA Inception offers, which is like access to abundance of GPU power and like all these kind of like I think it's very superficial. I don't really actually think it provides value for like the when it comes to actually building the product. Maybe it's gonna quick kind of like promotion that hey, our project got accepted into X. But I think at this point, like the most kind of pressing objective at this point is to get the product out there. We don't need massive computational GPU power. When we get the product out live, we can focus on ramping up marketing in that sense. And perhaps in that sense, we apply to this NVIDIA whatever the exception program is. But I don't really see the value add in doing that right now besides just like short-term kind of hype and like some kind of quick kind of upwards price action, right? Uh, can you go deeper direction with the NQ LLM? Sure, sure. So they're currently we're in like a private chat with their devs and their founder. Our core dev, our lead dev is in there as well. They're basically building LLM. That's specifically designed for this vertical, this industry, right? Like OnlyFans chatting industries. And so they're going to provide backend API where we can plug into their LLM, receive the response of what to send to the guy. At the same time, we also have in our community already professional kind of OnlyFans chatting agencies. And so they already have like very experienced with, they have like specific scripts that they go through with their VAs, like human VAs. And so we're going to do like a hybrid approach where this is actually, I think, the best way to do it. We're going to plug into the LLM and then receive the chat responses and then have these kind of like a human element looking at these responses and basically fine tuning these responses before sending that to the guy if needed, right? And so maybe the LLM provides a perfect response, like, I don't know, whatever. Let's say in the beginning, the LLM provides a perfect response for whatever the appropriate response is 60, 70, 80% of the time, right? When we had that human element kind of like reviewing, finalizing, giving a final review of the response, and these guys, like I said, are professional chatting guys, right? They give the final approval before the message is sent to like the human or whatever, right? Over time, that kind of fine tunes responses because our database is slowly accumulating the kind of like 100% accurate responses, right? We continuously use that data to like perpetually train and like improve the LLM so that maybe it starts out with 70% like accurate response. Over time, it'll go up to 80, 90, 95, 100%, right? Can Jenny send feed pics? Yeah, yeah, that'll be pay-per-view for those of you that are into that stuff. Is it roadmap to have, is it on the roadmap to have models and custom pics? Yes. So okay. So here's the thing, right? I had a conversation with one of the guys in our group about this. So the from the it's very important to understand that the end user in this use case is not a like AI artist or AI renderer that's trying to generate content in real time. End user in this case is a fan that is wanting to talk to the girl. Like the reason I highlight the difference is real time like responses and real time content generation is not really what the user is looking for. Yes, like because you guys are obviously in the beta testers group and like you guys know that these models are AI, like you may, like you guys know that, but like the end user, when we're funneling these guys from Web 2, think this is a fully functional real person. And a fully functional real person does not instant reply with, pictures and messages, right? There's like, so you gotta like, it's actually like it's a flaw to have a bot for it, or to like an AI instantly reply, instantly send you content, right? There needs to be ideally some kind of like, even like involving some kind of randomness element, right? Like where the AI is trained to take some kind of like there's like a delay between the response, maybe incorporate like a randomness element, and also depending on like the tone and the emotions involved in the conversation, have a delay kind of relate to that as well, right? So like yes, the user will be able to request custom pictures and videos, but those won't be like instantly sent to them, right? Like maybe they'll get that in like whatever, like 30 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, etc. Right? That's not the issue. Like I think a guy that's generally interested in conversing with a girl will wait like a week for response, right? Like the response time as long as realistic is all that a guy wants. Only one. That's exactly what I was talking about with my previous point on differentiation, on differentiating between what we're building versus a Web3 powered OnlyFans platform. The OnlyFans platform, like I said, is a means to an end, and it's a mistake to think the platform itself is the product in and of itself. I was also having a conversation with these pro OnlyFans agencies, and I basically like I'm on the same page with them. So we are basically the past and the present is specific when it comes to this vertical is about is a content a creator dependent business in that these girls create the TikTok reels, IG posts, explicit content, etc. We are transitioning from a creator-led dependent business to an agency-dependent business. In that the future will be that's honestly just a nice way of saying the human girl will probably be cut out of the equation. Like we don't need a human girl to create the content, right? So when you're creating a platform for this, like the actual future market leader, in our opinion, in this vertical, is not a platform that's designed for content creators. It's a platform that's designed for agencies. And so, for example, the AI to create content generation, right, for these agencies, the platform to collect the chatting data to recursively train AI for the chatting capabilities for these agencies, right? In the future, these agencies will literally just clone a girl or market our AI girl. There will be no human element to this business model, right? And so even if you're comparing competitors, right? Let's say I mentioned this, the platform itself has no value without the actual content or the girls, right? Let's compare the onboarding process of a traditional OnlyFans platform versus what Lush Chat intends to be, right? You try to, let's say, well, from day one, Lush Chat will by definition already have models on our platform because we own the models, right? We own the AI models. So there all will be models on our platform. But even if you say, okay, these AI models need time to build up their, social media presence, et cetera, in order to drive the traffic, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's compare the actual process of onboarding human models, right, onto a platform. A traditional OnlyFans platform, okay, they like trying to sign a contract with this girl, bring her onto the platform. The girl then, has to manually create all the content, maybe, outsource the chatting to a chatting agency or maybe chat their fans itself, right? Okay, so compare that to our onboarding process of a human girl. We don't actually onboard the human girl. We clone her into the AI. And then from day one, she's already able to generate content. So to put into perspective, a full-time AI engineer, we call it, like which I already onboarded one like 2 days ago. A full-time AI engineer has the content creation capabilities of 10 to 20 of these girls, right? So the onboarding process for us in itself, even when it comes to humans, is a 10x improvement because we're not actually onboarding the human itself. We're cloning her into the AI and onboarding the AI of her. And so all she needs to do is just basically put a link to her page on a platform, right? She doesn't even need to worry about creating content. Let's see. Do you think these waifu girlfriend projects are competitive with Lush? So I think these, I mentioned this earlier in the previous AMA. So there's a reason why you don't see, like, if you actually look at like any popular influencer or like creator on traditional Web2 platform, there's a reason that none of them are anime waifu. There's a reason that the top top creators on OnlyFans, none of them are anime. I think it's very the answer is actually very simple and it relates to biology, because we're not evolutionarily programmed to be attracted to anime girlfriends outside of fringe fetishes or maybe some like cultural things. Maybe Japanese people have a higher propensity to be attracted to anime people, but generally speaking, humans are biologically attracted to other humans. There is no when you look at advertisers, when you look at when you look at a girl marketing and promoting products, clothing, etc. None of them are anime. So I don't consider anime waifu girl projects to be really competitors, just from a visual standpoint. Does the CFO have any social links to check? No, he's not really. We're not doxing ourselves at this point. Like I said multiple times, we dox ourselves to our early investors and our early partners. Okay, I'm scrolling down real quick. I want to make an AI model to sell content. Correct. So this is you're exactly talking about Lush network. So phase one, Lush Chat is our internal OnlyFans platform. We are basically using this as a means to test drive our tech infrastructure and internally creating content, internally create the models, etc. The Lush network, which is a decentralized marketplace for AI models, is where anyone will be able to deploy their models to our network. And then if you want to, hire quote unquote those models, you would just pay Lush tokens and gas to generate content from those models. How much is NQLM charging for LLM? I haven't discussed the one yet. I'm sure we'll be able to come to terms on that. Um, yeah, the specific price points we haven't discussed with them yet. But I mean, like I said, we're all on friendly terms, so I don't think that's going to be that big of an issue. Um, let's see. Have you tested yet? What do you mean, have you tested yet? The responses from the LLM, Layun, is that what you're saying? Have I tested the LLM itself from NQAI? So they're in the process of providing the endpoints, I believe, like probably in the next few days or a week. That's what the founder told me. So we have basically 3 weeks to plug into the LLM and test the responses, which I think is plenty of time. But even then, like I said, um, even then, like I said, the reason why we have the human chatting agencies on board is because even if the response is for some reason not up to like perfect par or whatever, we'll have those guys continuously fine tuning the responses. And as our database because the responses are ultimately fine tuned by humans if necessary, our database will over time collect the kind of like quote unquote perfect responses and feed that back to LLM and recursively train that. Yeah, so the like I said, the human vetting is like a feature, not a bug in the beginning, because I, I want to collect the data of the agencies that have been in this business for years, right? Like I want to collect that data so we can train the LLM further. So it's a feature, not a bug. Plus, like I said, like the girl sorry, the guy is not wanting in like an instant response, right? Like in the in the context of human psychology, which is I'm like super interested in because I trade for a living, I run algos for a living, right? I'm not I play chess, I play poker, like not competitively, but like I mean the guys I play with are like kind of like professional VCs and like hedge fund guys, and I fairly do well, right? So so human psychology I would say is like my personal edge, and like I just apply that to the dating like market as a whole. And so like even with the context of like response times, right? It's like not in the sense of like it's AI and like you're testing it out, but like in the context of like a real person, like the concept, the psychological principle of variable reward is very important. And that's what like gets people addicted, right? That's why Tinder and Bumble are so addicting because you don't know when the girl is actually going to respond to you. Imagine if the girl, no matter how interested you are, imagine if the girl instantly replies to you within 5, 10 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds. I guarantee you, no matter how attracted you are to her, you will lose interest to some degree. Have you considered safer work content for now? Yeah. So, safer work. Well, this is exactly why, from a branding perspective, like the mid-curve approach to trying to categorize Lush as like adult entertainment and porn because that's not what we're going after. From a branding perspective, it's supposed to be more kind of sensual, elegant, and classy, right? Like human sexuality is a component of like building a fully functional virtual person. So obviously we can generate the content for that, but we're not like pushing porno onto people. Safe for work content, yeah, but like so the issue here is if you go safer work only, obviously that's going to hurt the revenue prospects of like a project like this, right? Because people do expect some type of NSFU NSFW content. It doesn't have to be like explicit porn, but nudity, guys generally like want that, right? So Worst case scenario, there are specific payment processors that are designed for adult entertainment businesses. The percentage that they charge would be higher, but there are solutions for that. If you guys get enough traction and Tom checks out, can intro you Binance Launchpad team. Yeah, that sounds good. If you wanna, like I said, we can set something up where if you know those connections, I think Tom would be happily chat further. Is there any form of wallet vetting? That's funny. Okay, so yeah, that's like kind of a bit advanced, but I see what you're saying, like customizing the responses based on the specific user profile. Um, yes, we plan to do that. That's more kind of based on their specific description and bio on a platform versus just like the nature of the wallet, right? That's a good idea. Yeah. I think categorizing or like customizing, the responses based on the wallet behavior that might be going a bit too extreme. But I get your idea. Customizing responses based on the nature of the person in their background. Is it cheating to use Lush Chat if one is a committed relationship? Absolutely not. So I think someone said this to me earlier. So hopefully what you get out of this is that the AI trains you to properly, to engage in conversation. And it's like a two-way street, right? You're not just training the AI. The training is also training you. There's an AI is also training you to have more fulfilling conversations, which I will discuss in a second, because this ties into the launch of our alpha version of our Lush Chat. Exactly. You can flirt better with your wife. Exactly. Spot on. Do we see Lush Chat on other platforms? Yeah, I mentioned this. So the first two platforms, first two chains we'll deploy on are Ethereum and Solana, just because that's where most of the TVL and volume is. Um, but we have no problem deploying on whatever, like, I don't know, say, I don't know how many EVM compatible chains are out there, but like, there's like, I think there's too many L1s to count at this point, but there's no downside to just deploying smart contracts on every single one of them. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So okay. So this is actually one of the most important parts, which is like the alpha on the launch of Lush Chat. Um, Let me pull up the description. Give me a second. Okay, so I want to see him school me who went to trouble on the platform. Yeah, okay. So, okay, here's some very like a meaningful alpha, right? So pay attention closely. Um, Here we go. So the launch of Lush Chat will involve a gamified points and airdrop system. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to convince Jenny, our first AI model, to send you her exclusive and private content. You will be able to accomplish various quests along the way for additional rewards. Pay attention. This won't be like conversing with a ChatGPT wrapper. Take the time to establish rapport and build trust over time. If you say dumb stuff and or disrespect her, she will ghost you and its mission failed. And so what we're doing is we are applying the blur blast gamification concept to basically create simp to earn, right? Like what we're doing is we're basically you're going to simp to earn. And the reason why I think we're gamifying this launch is that way, I think one, I think obviously has like a lot of virality and mimetic potential, right? Like you normally don't see, AI models actually rejecting you, right? Because like I said, most of the time you're talking to a chat GPT wrapper and the whole purpose is, like try to make you happy, send you the best responses. But like if you're too pushy with our girl, and like if your first message is, send me some nudes, she's gonna reject you, right? And so like hopefully this process will train you to engage in better conversation with real girls, right? Like I said, it's a two-way street. Also, but the key important here, and why it's actually very important, is that this process of kind of escalation is actually what sells the content when the application to real guys, when we actually have real customers, right? Because right now the actual users and the customers are like Web 2 kind of crypto guys, just based Web 3 crypto guys to showcase their technology. But like when an application like this is, in real life, real time production, the actual customers are web two and like actual like fans slash simps, right? So like the process of going through this game, uh, and so to speak, will actually familiarize yourself with the actual kind of escalation and ramp up kind of process that professional chatting agencies take, and force or like get guys to go through, right? For example, like I said, I mean, if you're too direct with a girl, she's not going to just send you all her explicit content at the beginning. You work your way up, right? The first maybe a picture will be just like a seductive picture of her in like yoga pants and like a bra, right? But you work your way up from there, and you build a rapport and trust over time. And then that's how you get those fans and the guys to like start spending $50, $100 for like some, more explicit video, right? Yes, yes, yes. This is all kind of behavioral psychology. This is exactly why we have a couple of professional OnlyFans agency guys in our group so far, because they have already all the data and experience, running these scripts and these this kind of game that they're already playing with real guys. Can you restart if you fuck it up? I guess, sure. I mean, it might. I mean, the AI might have your chat history. It might not give you, the best responses. Might just be better to create another account. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, okay. So yeah. So that's kind of some alpha on the launch of the platform or Lush Chat. And so how the launch is going to roll out, is that phase one, it will be open to kind of like a select group of advisors, insiders, team members, etc., and partners to stress test the project. Phase two will be our partners and our closer community guys. And so you start with the core and you're like building out in concentric circles, right? Phase three will be like the general public. And so what we're actually looking for, and what we're asking from the guys here in the AMA are like, if you know any relevant kind of communities, whether it be NFT communities, alpha communities, or like KOLs, airdrop farming groups, etc., that would be interested in partnering with us for this launch, please, send us a DM, because we'd like to partner up with a few more communities. And obviously, the earlier access you get, the more opportunity to farm those points and those airdrops will be, right? So we're looking to partner with a few communities. Well, maybe we'll get their founders in during phase one, where, like I said, phase one will be restricted to insiders, partners, founders of communities, etc. Phase two will be a closer communities that we partner with, and then phase three will be the general public. So we're looking to connect with a couple of relevant communities. So please reach out if you know of any people. Jenny will be flirting with 100 dudes. Does that mean she's cheating? No. I think it's a general process of courting a girl, right? You have to compete for your way to a girl's heart. If we hold an X amount of coins, let's say 3 million. Yeah, I think we can think of something like that. I don't know the exact amount, but yeah, if you're like an early kind of, or like you're like a whale, or you're like an early buyer, or early participant, sure, we can let you in like the earlier stages. Can I pay Jenny to not ghost if I call her whore? I don't know. She's a nice girl, man. You can't just buy her love like that. Any questions? Any other questions? We'll keep it open for about like 5 or 10 minutes. So feel free to post your questions. Appreciate your time. Very thankful. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. How do I explain it to your girlfriend? Research purposes, right? It's fundamental analysis of your favorite AI crypto projects. How many models do we actually have? Uh, it's not the question of how many models we can spin up. The number is essentially infinite. The question here is how to perfect the process of one before scaling and expanding to the next. So we really want to get the process of Jenny right. And she's going to be like the face of the project, right? The flagship model. And so you really have to build the brand and the marketing, etc., and have that down. But like, if we wanted to, we can spin up like 5 girls like tomorrow. When do you intend to roll out phase one? End of Q1. So let's just say March 31st. How will Jenny's Twitter work? So right now, this is also, part of me delegating my labor, my personal labor intention. I was running like her account for the past month or so. We bought and bought a couple of human VAs to manage. Keep in mind, we have like 3 or 4 of these accounts, right? Jenny is the only one you see, but we have like 3 or 4 different of these accounts. So basically, I've been giving these VAs kind of test runs to manage those accounts, and then I think once they prove themselves for 1 or 2 weeks or more, I'll let them handle the Jenny account. The honestly, I'd love it if Twitter API can support some kind of like plugin where I can just plug in the an automated kind of like LLM that can both interact, follow, unfollow, like, post, right? But based on our research so far, nothing on the market beats like the human, high quality human interaction of just like a VA. Yeah, the video of Jenny on AI is correct. We have various tools within our like arsenal from purely generative video and AI to AI assisted deepfake. Depending on the certain circumstances, you know, one tool may be fit for the other. But yeah, they're all AI. Kakaroto. I went all in from the beginning, got a bit scared, 30,000, then pulled something off at a loss. Yeah, I mean, not financial advice. We can't give you, financial advice there, but I mean, like I said, we fully have intentions to build this to a much bigger, larger size. Yeah, so audio, I think it has some kind of audio tool, right? Audio is actually not that difficult. I believe relative to visual, I think visual is the most difficult when it comes to generative AI. Audio isn't that difficult based on my personal research. Elven Labs, you can, I think they train like a person's voice. I think relatively straightforward. On the generative front, like I said, the next frontier is like perhaps like real-time facial movements, right? I don't know if you've seen those videos of like AI news anchors. So that's like the next iteration on the technological side, giving them like giving the AI like a script, and they like the face kind of like changes and the lips move according to that script. The final frontier would be like real-time streaming, generative streaming. How much longer do you think just generative video becomes good enough for mainstream release? Uh, it depends on what you mean by generative, because at this point, like AI assisted like deepfake produces better results than purely generative, but you're seeing purely generative slowly catch up, right? With like, Sora coming out. The thing with Sora is obviously it's not open source, but I think maybe in like 3 to 6 months, someone will develop an open source version that's similar to Sora. And then from there, the hackers and the tinklers and like the guys will reverse engineer and build like an NSFW version of it, right? So when it comes to when it comes to like this type of technology, you saw in crypto as well. The guys at the forefront of the technology are usually kind of the underground kind of degen use cases, right? Like before Bitcoin was institutionalized, it was primarily used for like dealing drugs, like whatever, like Silk Road, etc. Right? Like in this case, before AI, in the case of AI, it might be the adult sector or like the NSFW sector that pushes the limits of like the boundaries of this technology before it actually gets into institutionalized. Stinky Panty NFT. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we can create NFT, sure, in the future. When do token burns start? The token burn is going to be correlated with the actual revenue of the protocol. And so Q2 is when we plan to integrate with Web2 and like, actually get paid kind of subscribers from, actual the quote unquote normal internet, right? The current launch of Lush Chat is more catered to the Web3 community and to basically one, establish our name as a dominant market leader in this vertical, and two, to showcase our technology. Actual kind of monetization and cash flow comes from integration with Web2. Yeah, VR. We actually had a guy in our chat kind of reach out to us about like VR integration. I think that'd be like super interesting. Metaverse and VR integration, sure, sure. Like I said, I mean, just like the OnlyFans vertical is just the first use case, right? You're talking about like VR streaming, like real-time generative influencers in the metaverse, or even in like a VR headset. That's like just additional use cases. Uh, Again, to emphasize, OnlyFans is simply a means to an end, not the product itself. And in our case, OnlyFans is simply just like an easy way to kind of wrap your head around like the direct monetization of digitalized sexual content. Will there be multiple languages? I'm not sure about the language capabilities of NQAI, but we can talk to them about that. It won't be in the alpha release for sure though. But in the future, yeah. I mean, I don't think any. I think translation capabilities. I think is it's fairly common. Like just taking a look at like current market options, open source and publicly available options. Or it can just run the English response to like a Google Translate API or something like that. I don't know. Have you looked at other Web3 Delphi? So that's the thing, right? Like we don't really want to. We don't from a branding perspective. Um, I don't. It might not be a good idea to partner with projects that are explicitly kind of like porno content, because that's not really like what we're trying to do. And also that impacts the ability to raise institutional capital, right? Like institutional capital is not going to throw money at a like porn company. Institutional capital will potentially invest in an AI influencer company, a generative AI influencer company. Can Jenny initiate the chat? Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's also part of what we're trying to do, right? So we're trying to build a hyper realistic, like fully functional virtual person, and one that can, initiate the conversation as well. Like, this won't be like ChatGPT when you're just talking to like a robot, and it's like designed to please you with every message and wait for your response. That's not what we're building. Any other questions? I'll give it like 2 more minutes. Have I been subscribed to OnlyFans for? I don't honestly. I honestly, God, I don't have an OnlyFans subscription. I just talk to enough agencies that I really know the business inside and out, for research purposes. I swear to God, I do not have an OnlyFans subscription. I would say that, like I'm not like I wouldn't say like I'm not like this like Casanova pickup artist, whatever. But let's just say I've studied because, like I said, I'm very fascinated by human psychology, right? So I've studied and looked at all these kind of like pickup gurus, dating coaches, all their content. I would say I have a fairly, like I said, good understanding of, the dating market, and like intersexual dynamics, to the point that like I said, I'm not really like the target customer of OnlyFans. I don't think I need it. To be honest, I am sacrificing, am and will need to sacrifice my dating life in order to build this, but that's okay, right? But no, I don't really need OnlyFans. Girls to pull on a night out. Okay, well, I don't want to go too much in depth in this, but let's just say I think my thesis is that attraction is not a choice. And so, like, I think, for example, from a man's perspective, if he sees a woman with a 0.7 hip to waist ratio, symmetrical features, facial features, etc., it's not a choice that he's attracted to the woman, right? Counter to that, it's not a choice for a woman to feel attracted to a man if the man checks similar boxes, right? But here's the catch. When it comes to man, those boxes that he needs to check in order to uh, attract a woman are very different from a woman, right? Like in a man, it's usually like obviously financial security, leader, man, pre-selection, social proof, etc. Right? So I think if a man has those kind of capabilities, I think I mean it's not a choice that a woman feels attracted to a man. Can we have a Spaces AMA session related to I mean human behavior psychology? Sure. I mean like I don't really want to pitch myself as like this like dating or like guru or like Casanova, but I mean yeah, I mean I think it's a very interesting topic because like I said, sexuality, I don't know who, I think it might be Freud or Jung or whatever, but it's like basically like all energy is just sexual energy transmutated. And so basically like if you look at like what you do from day to day, you're either trying to survive or prolong your existence by reproduction. And so like I think understanding how the dating market works, intersexual relationships, like it's not a numbers game that certain men can attract, like, much more, women than other men, right? It's not, and it's just not about money, right? Any plans for introduction of male and trans models? Sure, sure, sure. But like we're not against like men, like male models. But like just from a purely business perspective, this entire industry is like 80 to 90% dominated by female women, right? That's where the revenue is. It's like same with the model. It's like same with like the fashion model industry. The highest paid female model makes like $50 million a year. The highest paid male model only makes like $3 to $4 million a year, right? So it's just like from a business perspective, you want to start with the girls first. Obviously, we can spin up a man later on, no problem.